After the death of Osei Tutu, the founder of the Asante Kingdom, a power vacuum emerged. The young state faced threats from both within and without. Into this turbulent scene stepped Opoku Ware I, a leader who would not just steady the ship, but steer it towards unprecedented glory. In this episode, we follow his incredible rise, his relentless military campaigns, and the political innovations that ushered in the golden age of the Asante Empire. I'm your host, and today we re-stepping back into the mid-18th century to witness how Opoku Ware built upon Osei Tutu's foundation to create a true empire. When Osei Tutu died around 1717, the Asante Kingdom was fragile. Different factions and rival claimants vied for control of the Golden Stool, the ultimate symbol of authority. It was a time of crisis. Out of this internal strife, Opoku Ware, a grandnephew of Osei Tutu, was chosen as the next Asantehene around 1720. His selection was, in part, a compromise, a way to unite the competing groups and restore stability. To solidify his rule and bind the kingdom together, Opoku Ware instituted the Ntam Kese, or the Great Oath. This was a powerful binding oath of allegiance that everyone, including the king himself, had to respect. It was a masterstroke of political genius, creating a sacred bond of loyalty that held the state together. But his challenges were far from over. He immediately faced rebellions from subordinate chiefs and neighboring states who saw the change in leadership as a moment of weakness, a chance to break free from Asante control. Opoku Ware knew that to survive, he had to act decisively, and act he did. Opoku Ware embarked on a series of aggressive military campaigns to crush dissent and secure Asante's dominance once and for all. He was a brilliant and relentless military strategist. First, he dealt with the states of Aowin and Sewi. They had not only rebelled, but had dared to sack the capital, Kumasi, taking captives and looting the city. Opoku Ware's response was swift and total. He crushed their rebellion and annexed their lands, even creating a new region called Ahafo to mark his victory. Next, around 1722, he turned his attention to the powerful state of Bono, conquering it and bringing its resources under Asante control. He then moved against Wassa in the southwest, launching campaigns around 1726 to enforce his authority along critical trade routes. But Opoku Ware's vision wasn't limited to the south. He pushed north, extending Asante influence into the territories of Dagbon and Gonja, gradually integrating them into his expanding empire. His strategic genius was also on full display on the coast. By conquering the Akiem states around 1742 and asserting control over the European forts in Accra, he effectively tightened his grip on the lucrative coastal trade. This gave the Asante direct access to European goods, especially firearms, while denying them to his rivals. By the middle of his reign, Opoku Ware had more than doubled the size of the territory he inherited. The Asante Kingdom was transforming into the Asante Empire. But conquering land is one thing. Governing it is another challenge entirely. Opoku Ware knew that military might alone wasn't enough to hold his vast, multicultural empire together. He needed a system. So he introduced and strengthened the role of the Amenhin, or provincial governors. These were officials appointed to oversee the newly conquered regions. Their job was to collect tribute, enforce the king's justice, and raise local militias. But they had to report directly to Kumasi and periodically travel to the capital to renew their oath of loyalty. This ensured the provinces remained tied to the central government. To further centralize his power and reduce his dependence on the established chiefs in Kumasi, he created new positions like the Ankobia, a special internal guard force whose sole duty was to protect the capital and the king's personal interests. This was a direct challenge to the old power structures. Naturally, these changes didn't go unopposed. Some of the powerful chiefs in Kumasi felt their authority was being undermined, and rebellions occasionally broke out in the provinces. But each time, Opoku Ware moved swiftly to suppress them, reinforcing the message that central authority was absolute. Despite his successes, Opoku Ware's reign was a constant balancing act. The very expansion and reforms he initiated created new tensions. Some of the provincial rulers he had appointed grew powerful in their own right and resented the tight control from Kumasi. At one point, the situation became so tense that a coalition of Kumasi chiefs managed to temporarily oust Opoku Ware, forcing him to flee the capital. It was a stark reminder of the fragile nature of his power. However, he was a resilient leader and soon managed to rally his loyalists and reassert his control. Beyond internal politics, he also faced external threats. Outlying states would often revolt, sometimes with the secret encouragement and support of rival powers like the Fante, who were always looking for ways to weaken Asante's grip on the region. The core struggle of his reign was finding the delicate balance between centralized control from Kumasi and allowing for a degree of local autonomy in the provinces. Too much control could spark rebellion, but too little could lead to the empire's fragmentation. This was the structural challenge that would define the Asante Empire for generations to come. By the time of his death around 1750, Opoku Ware had left an indelible mark on West African history. He had taken a vulnerable young kingdom and forged it into a sprawling, dominant empire. He stabilized the state after the death of its founder, massively expanded its borders, and put in place the formal administrative structures needed to govern it. Under his leadership, the Asante Empire reached its largest territorial extent in the interior, becoming the undisputed regional superpower. But his legacy was also complex. He left behind unresolved tensions between the central government and the powerful provincial governors. Maintaining the unity of this vast empire would require constant vigilance from his successors. His reign set the blueprint for future Asante kings, a powerful combination of military conquest, bureaucratic legitimacy, and centralized oversight. This was the model that would sustain the empire for the next century. Under Opoku Ware I, a fragile kingdom became a mighty empire. But building an empire is one thing, holding it together is the next great challenge. In our next episode, we'll explore the reigns of Osei Kwadwo and Osei Kwame Panyin, and see how the internal systems of the Asante Empire were tested, refined, and matured in the face of new challenges. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. See you next time.